Louis. My name is Annette Peterson, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship committee. We are glad you could join us this Sunday, either in person or online. If you are a visitor or newcomer, I'd like to extend a special welcome. And if you are new to our congregation, be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby of the church. After service, please join us downstairs in Fellowship Hall for coffee and donuts. We welcome families with children. Families with children are invited to connect with our Minister of Congregational Life, Reverend Sabrina Trupia, for more information about our religious education program. If you are attending online, you can connect with each other in the chat, and don't forget that the link for virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. There are several announcements this morning. Next Sunday, March 29th, after service, some representatives from the membership committee and Reverend Sabrina will be in the ramp area to answer questions you may have about membership, what it means to be a member, how to become a member, etc. If you are considering joining or new and/or curious, we will be happy to chat with you. Today at 11:30 in the chapel, all are invited to a ritual welcoming spring and the spirit of growth and renewal, hosted by Erde. Game night at First UU is this coming Friday night from 5:30 to 8. There will be card games, board games, puzzles, and snacks. All ages are welcome. You are invited Saturday, April 4th from 1 to 3 to a celebration honoring our members in their 90s. Join us for a luncheon where we'll tell stories, share memories, and get to know each other a little better. Information to sign up is in the e-news. Please center yourself in preparation for worship.
Hey friends, I'm Mo. I'm the AV tech and live stream producer here at First Unitarian Church. Some of you might know me. Well, thank you.
So that's what you look like.
That's what I look like, yeah. A lot of my volunteers are people who are already stuck in and ready to do things for the church. They're on the worship committee, they're in the choir, they're doing things, which means some Sundays I get left a little thin. If you want to get involved, but you're a behind-the-scenes kind of person like myself with my face for radio, feel free to send me an email so we can get you signed up. I would love to have your help in the AV booth doing live streams on Sundays. It takes 5-10 minutes of training. Steve Wilkie can do it, so I think anyone can. I would love to have some new faces. So you can email me at imhurst@FirstUU St. Louis, and I'd love to get you signed up. Thanks, guys.
Good morning. I am Kathy Roush. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm serving as your worship assistant today. I am part of a group from the Social Justice Committee who began looking into bringing the Freedom School to First Unitarian this summer. And we will be a site this summer. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the dignity and worth of all who enter. We gather in community, understanding we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, identity, and theology. Our values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning-making. Together, we foster a spirit of gratitude and generosity so that we all may feel welcome and so that we all may thrive. We are glad to be together this morning. Please enjoy our prelude performed by Alan Hoffman.
Our Soul Matters theme for this month is, well, let's see who's been paying attention. What is our Soul Matters theme for the month? Paying attention. Well done. And according to Krishnamurti, the renowned Indian philosopher, to pay attention means we care, which means we really love. And Tara Brock, psychologist and mindfulness meditation teacher, adds, attention is the most basic form of love. By paying attention, we let ourselves be touched by life. Our hearts naturally become more open and engaged. This morning, we are here to celebrate youth and literacy with Carrie Henderson from Beyond Housing Freedom School. What theme could be more heart-opening and engaging? So I invite you into this time of worship to remember the joy and transformation you have found in reading, and to pay attention to the opportunity we have to share the gift of literacy with young people. As Marian Rye Edelman, founder of the Children's Defense Fund and Freedom School, stated, There is no better tool than a book. It can pry open the locks of poverty and hopelessness and make way for dreams to take hold. Now please rise as you are willing and able and join in for the hymn of the month, number 398, To See the World. It is a short song, so we will sing it twice.
I lit the chalice out of order. Were you the ones that hid in the dark after you were supposed to be asleep, reading by candlelight, flashlight, street light, or the light of the moon? Did you sneak into the closet or bathroom to read, hoping your elders wouldn't catch you reading late into the night? Are you one of the ones who stay up way too late, reading that book you just can't put down, knowing you should have been asleep hours ago? This morning, we light our chalice as a reminder of the hope and joy that light in the darkness brings.
Good morning. My name is Emily J. Cox. I'm the chair of the Canvas Committee, and during the month of March, my pronouns are she, hers, and captain. So my update is that we have reached well over $342,000 towards our goal of $425,000, which means we're 80% of the way there. We have received 105 pledges, including 5 brand new pledges, which is awesome. Thank you. But there are 60 households we still have not heard from. So 43% of our households, we need you to get to that finish line of 20%. 20% may not sound like a lot, but without it, we would be facing significant reductions in the church's operation in the coming year that starts in July 1. So each person's financial situation and pledging decision is unique. I've got a little bit of nerdy statistical information. If you took all the pledges we got and lined them up so far in order, the midpoint is $1,500 a year. That's $125 a month. So that's the median pledge. If you go to the middle half of the pledges, there's some, very generous large pledges at one end and modest pledges at the other. But if you take that middle, that's half of the members are pledging between $500 a year and $4,000 a year. Some people find that information helpful as they consider their own pledge. But every single pledge, regardless of amount, makes a valued contribution to what we can do with our time here together, how we share our space with others, and how we carry our values out into the world. So if you've held off pledging because you have questions, please come see me after the service. I love questions. If you have already pledged, you are entered in our raffle. Today's prize is Cheryl Coulter's legendary lemon-topped cheesecake. Chris Tighe and Joe. Oh, you're very lucky. Go see Cheryl after the service. But all of you who have pledged are welcome to go down to Fellowship Hall after the service and take one of these small tokens of our appreciation for this nifty little useful clip with the church logo on it. That's for each one of you. And now we will hear from church member Bill Chilton, who will share some of his journey to and back to First Unitarian. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? I wanted to be very careful walking up here since evidently there's been a tripping hazard here in the past. So, it's a beautiful spring day out there, and my name is Bill Chilton, he, him. So to start, I would like to talk about some family history. History which impacted my parents' views and in turn impacted mine as I transitioned from childhood to becoming a young adult. I would like to share those two stories. My parents were older when I was born, and as a result, we can go back significantly in time in just one generation. If we go back to 1910, my mother's father was seriously prejudiced against black people. Her mother, though, was not. Mamaw taught my mother to have compassion and to be accepting of all people, including African Americans. My mother and her sister were lucky because their mother stood up to her husband and, in fact, had a great friend, Aquila Jones, who was a cherished friend and happened to be black. Aquila was a friend to my mother, too, and was important in her life. I have this picture, and it is of my dad when he was 1 year old in 1909. He was being held by his grandfather, my great-grandfather. And who was he? He had been a Confederate soldier. He joined the Confederate Army in 1861 when he was 17 years old. My dad, not my granddad or my great-grandfather, but my dad was named after him. A side note, it is strange that my dad wasn't given a full name at birth, just initials, SW. Evidently, that was common in the South in those days. My dad was called Dub growing up. Who my maternal grandfather and my paternal great-grandfather were and the beliefs they held did not make sense to me when I was a child in the 1960s. After all, I was a middle-class kid from Webster Groves. How could I have a grandfather who would have serious prejudices towards blacks, and that his wife, my grandmother, still had a close friend who was black? I did not understand. In the 1960s, I was a child. My family were religious Methodists. We were members and we were active in the Webster Hills Methodist Church. My dad had taught Bible classes when he was a young man, and my mother was always a Sunday school teacher. I always attended her Sunday school classes, and I was always her helper. We always went to church on Sunday. Starting in the 1950s and leading into the 1960s, two issues came to the surface in this country: civil rights, and the Vietnam War. These two issues ultimately impacted my parents' religious views and made them reconsider the religious views that they were taught as children. My parents were liberal-minded, and they were strong supporters of civil rights and were against the Vietnam War. My mom must have told me 100 times to never judge a person by the color of their skin, and my parents instilled in me that the Vietnam War was senseless. I was just a kid during these years, 5, 6, or 7, or 8. At some point, my parents realized what a sheltered life I was living in Webster Groves. My parents saw some opportunities to address and enlighten me on these important issues. Regarding civil rights, my parents had heard of an integrated church in the city, and my dad and I attended a Sunday service. I remember the church building. I remember going with my dad. We sat in the back of the sanctuary, and I remember that the choir was all black, except for one gentleman who my dad knew. I drove by the church recently. The building still exists and is in good repair. It is at the intersection of Goodfellow and Bartmer Avenue, adjacent to the Central West End, not too far from here. And then at that time, my mom taught one summer at Douglas School in Webster Groves. It was an all-black school. My mom asked me to attend this summer session, and that gave me an opportunity to get to know black kids, which was not happening in my grade school in Webster. I was the only white child at the school, and I did feel a little out of place at times, but I did feel good about this experience. I remember when my dad took me to the home of his tailor. My dad was very tall. He was 6'4", as tall as Abraham Lincoln. He had to have his suits custom made, and his tailor was black. His name was Fred Nash. I will never forget going there. He lived on a long street that curved. It curved for about 2 or 3 blocks. I remember discovering the street many years later as a young man. It is close by, too. The name of the street is DeGiverville. I remember sitting on the couch of their living room and watching the tailor taking measurements of my dad. This was probably the first time I'd ever been in a black family's home. Then there was the war in Vietnam. That was a big deal, even to me, a little kid growing up in Webster Groves. The war was tangible back then. You could just reach out and grab it. It wasn't just an article in the newspaper listing the death of a soldier or a broadcast by Walter Cronkite. I knew it was real because my mom had a friend whose son was killed in Vietnam. And after all, my parents had 2 sons who were coming of age in the 1960s, my 2 older brothers. I remember when my oldest brother and my dad came home from the Army induction office. My mom was jumping for joy. She was all hugs and kisses with my brother. See, he had failed the physical. Yes. He wasn't going into the Army, and he wasn't going to Vietnam. A few years later, there was an organized national event called the Moratorium to End the War in Vietnam. One of the ways you could participate was to wear a black armband on a designated day. My mom used her sewing skills to make my older brother and me armbands, but the Webster Groves School District was ready for us. I remember walking into my elementary school, and my principal was right there. She told me to take off the black armband, which I did. The same thing happened to my brother at the high school. Then 1969 came along, and my brother was graduating from high school. At that time, the draft was a lottery. The selection was by birth dates, and the lottery numbers were announced over the radio. I remember my mom sitting at the kitchen table with a pencil and paper. She would write each date down as they were announced. My dad listened from the living room. And then the 70th date was announced. It was December 25th, Christmas, my brother's birthday. And my mom turned off the radio. 70 is a low number. It means you're going to be drafted. But my brother went to college and utilized deferments and never enlisted or went to Vietnam. Years later, my parents purchased a gravesite at Sunset Cemetery near Grant's farm. My mom realized that her friend's grave, the grave of this young man killed in Vietnam, was nearby, just about 100 feet away. My mom showed me the grave. It turned out he was killed by friendly fire. He was from Webster Groves, and he was a middle-class kid, just like me. What a way to go. What a way to leave this world. Sometime later, my mom pointed out his house. He lived at the intersection of Edgar Road and Glendale, near Webster Pool and near my future in-law's house. He will not be forgotten, at least in my lifetime. I will always stop by his grave when I visit my parents' grave. And I will always think of him as I drive through this intersection. One Sunday in the late 1960s, we stopped going to church. I didn't mind. I asked my mom why we didn't go to church anymore. She said there was a disagreement between our family and the church. The church supported the Vietnam War, and our family didn't. Also, the church would not allow my mother to pass out fair housing support cards, which described racial discrimination in regards to housing and home ownership. Back then, if someone asked me what religion I practiced, I would say I was a Methodist. When my teenage years started, I realized how little I knew about religion. I told my mother, and she said, let's start with memorizing the Lord's Prayer, which I did. Later, I asked if we would be returning to church. My mom said that if we returned to church, we would be going to the Unitarian church. So my mom planted a seed. Over the course of my later teenage years and college years, I would on occasion hear about the Unitarian Universalist religion. I liked what I had heard. At that time, when somebody would inquire about my religious views, I would say I was a Unitarian, but I didn't attend church. I admitted that I didn't know much about religion. Later, after college, I was living in New Mexico. My roommate told me about a Jesse Jackson rally. We went to the rally, which was held at the Unitarian Church. We met a number of Unitarians. A side note, I'm happy to say I was able to shake Jesse Jackson's hand. As you know, he died recently. At that time, the Unitarian Church was having circle suppers. We were invited, and my roommate and I attended the circle suppers. We both agreed that these events were like having dinner with our parents. We appreciated their activism and liberal religious views. So the seed my mom had planted years ago was finally growing. I joined the church in Santa Fe and joined the facilities committee. Later, I took a job in Seattle. I moved to the Capitol Hill neighborhood and looked up the Unitarian Church. It was a large church called University Unitarian. I attended the Sunday service. I then went down to Fellowship Hall and grabbed a cup of coffee. I was standing there by myself when an older lady came up to me. I will never forget her. She had a southern accent, and she said, I haven't seen you before, you new? And I said, yes, I just moved here. This is my first Sunday in Seattle. She said I should meet the young adults group. And she took me by the arm, and we walked across Fellowship Hall, and there were 4 or 5 young adults. I met them. Then I went to church the next Sunday and met more young adults. And then again on the Sunday after that, and I met even more young adults. Birds of a feather flock together. What a wonderful thing to move to the big city, and in no time at all, I had all these wonderful friends. I joined the church, and I joined the facilities committee. When my father passed away, all my siblings lived far away from our mother in St. Louis. So after 3 years, I quit my job in Seattle and moved back to St. Louis. This was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I came to this church, and this is where I met a number of my parents' friends. I got active in the young adults group. Birds of a feather flocked together. It all seemed right, and I joined the church and joined the facilities committee. And then right over here is where I saw my future wife for the first time, Shelley. See, if we go back in time, I think to my college years, my mom told me, someday you will meet a nice Unitarian girl. And sure enough, there she was, just like my mom said. Now, Shelley technically was not a Unitarian. She was visiting the church. But she was in the building, and that was good enough for me. I was 38. I mean, we had to get moving up here, so. Right here, where I'm standing, is where we got married. Danny Reed officiated. Shelley walked up these stairs, and I walked up those. It was a packed crowd. All the pews were filled. It was on August 9th, and there was no air conditioning. We had to move the receiving line from the Dotson room to be in the shade of the large oak tree that used to be in the memorial garden. A year later, we had a daughter. We wanted her to have a religious dedication. So here in our sanctuary is a baptismal font. If you haven't seen it, you should. It is beautifully made, constructed out of marble, and has all sorts of ornamental carvings. I married into my wife's Catholic family. Shelley and I discussed various ways to be inclusive and mesh some Unitarian and Catholic rituals into our child's dedication. So we made these requests to Reverend Earl Holt and Reverend Danny Reed, and they composed a service for us. I know they were honored to have such a request. For our daughter to have a religious ritual designed just for her, to include love and charity and hope, to have it performed by this group of Unitarian clergy, to be surrounded by the people who love you most. What a wonderful way to enter this world. The ceremony included godparents. Shelley and I discussed having godparents, and we asked my oldest brother Joe and his wife to be Madeline's godparents. My brother Joe was smitten with our daughter. I remember when Madeline was about 4 years old, and we had been visiting, and Madeline asked if she could just live with Uncle Joe. My brother had brain damage. It's called aphasia. He was 16 years older than me. He helped my parents raise me. He would take me sledding, and he taught me how to ice skate. He was a simple person. He regularly drank tall glasses of milk. I would be surprised if he drank a single beer in his entire life. But there he was, holding Madeline. He was so proud. He held her the entire ceremony. Danny and Earl had written some words for him to say. I became our daughter's RA teacher for a number of years. I even had my mother teach a class once. So things came full circle for a religious education. The yearly pageant was something we always looked forward to and participated in. I continued the RE teaching through to our concluding Boston trip. We had a wonderful time in Boston and walked in the footsteps of the Transcendentalists. One day we visited Walden Pond, and we had beautiful summer-like weather. There was a sandy beach at the pond, and people were swimming. We, of course, didn't have swimming suits and didn't have towels, but the kids were determined to go swimming. Perhaps this was a Unitarian on-the-fly, old-style baptism. The kids somehow arranged their clothes so the girls had T-shirts to swim in, and the boys had boxer shorts, which looked like baggy swimming suits. And we jumped in. I actually swam across Walden Pond to Thoreau's cabin. What a great way to conclude a religious education experience and to move on and into this world. Starting around 1910, continuing over the years to Walden Pond and back to the Central West End. The Central West End has played a big part of who I am. This church building itself, the sanctuary, the chancel, the baptismal font, the RE wing, the church of Goodfellow at Barber, the home of my dad's tailor, the hospital where I was born. This is my home. This is where I want to be.
Thank you, Bill. It's my honor to introduce Carrie Henderson, who's the director of the program at the Freedom School. Carrie's is a St. Louis native and a graduate of Metro High School. She earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Radio, TV, and Film from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and a Master of Arts in School Administration from Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri. She's a proud member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority and a staunch advocate for historically Black colleges and universities, as evidenced through her role as vice president of the St. Louis HBCU Alumni Association. She has served at all levels within the CDF Freedom Schools, including servant leader intern at George Ferris Freedom School in Washington, D.C., and Beyond Housing's own site in North St. Louis County. She has also been a site coordinator for the Deaconess Foundation and a national Ella Baker trainer. And that's it. I think that's it. Welcome, Carrie.
Good morning. That is how our scholars are introduced in the morning, so we greet them hype as can be. And as you saw, there's even a literacy component. So every morning, our scholars are introduced through cheers, but also through literacy. So first, I want to thank you all for welcoming me into this space. And it's truly an honor to be here, not just to talk about a program, but to talk about a movement, a legacy, essentially a call to action. Today, I want to center us in a powerful truth from Miss Ella Josephine Baker, a quote that you will hear me say a lot, which is strong people don't need strong leaders. And that is exactly what Freedom School is all about. So when we talk about Freedom School, we have to take it back to 1964 Freedom School Summer. And so Freedom School was born out of the Freedom School Summer of 1964. And that was a time when young people, college students, and community members came together in the state of Mississippi specifically to fight for basic human rights, especially the right to vote. So the mindset was we're going down south and we are going to get Black residents to register to vote. But something deeper happened during that summer. They didn't just fight oppression, they built something. They created freedom schools as spaces where Black children could learn their history, find their voice, and understand their power. And that's where Ella Baker's philosophy comes alive. Strong people don't need strong leaders. She believed that leadership isn't about just one person at the top. It's about building people so that they can lead themselves, their families, and their communities. So then we're gonna fast forward to 1995, which is where Children's Defense Fund comes into play. So Ms. Marion Wright Elderman, who was the former CEO and founder of Children's Defense Fund, was also one of those college students in 1964 that went down south to help in Mississippi. But when the Children's Defense Fund revived Freedom School, it wasn't as a charity, but as a parallel institution to support and uplift our children. Because the reality is, our children have always been brilliant. They just haven't always had the systems to affirm it. So Freedom School steps in and they say that you are seen, that you are valuable, and that you are capable. So what makes Freedom School different than other summer camps? And we don't even like to call Freedom School a summer camp. More so, it's a summer enrichment program. It's not, again, not just a summer program. We have 5 core pillars that we believe in Freedom School. The first one is high quality curriculum. So the curriculum that we facilitate with our scholars, and you'll hear me say scholars instead of students because we want to get in our scholars' mindset that we are prepping them to be the best academically. So high quality curriculum that we facilitate to our scholars is also Common Core state standards. So these are tasks and skill sets that they should be practicing in the traditional school setting in the 10 months. Intergenerational leadership is another pillar of Freedom School. So not only are we creating leaders from our scholars, but a lot of times what we see happening in Beyond Housing, this is our 18th summer doing Freedom School at Beyond Housing, is that we see our scholars grow up and come back to serve as servant leader interns, come back and serve as site coordinators. So we are always creating an avenue where they build leadership skills and bring it back to the community. Family engagement is a big, big piece of Freedom School. We couldn't do any of our work if it wasn't for the families. That's even going back to 1964 Freedom School Summer. The families were an integral part in the running of Freedom School Summer, just like they are an integral part in Freedom School during during our time. So what we do is that we have weekly family engagement nights, giving our families the opportunities to know what life is like with their scholar during the summer, and also offer them opportunities. So last summer we did financial literacy for our families. We also taught them how to advocate for themselves in their scholar during the traditional school year. Civic and social action is one of our biggest pieces at Freedom School. We are not only raising literacy, but we are raising advocates. So our scholars are exposed to books that are an array of topics from racism, ableism, sexism, and then we tell them, here's the issue, what are ways in which we can fix it? Because we're providing that information for them to be able to navigate for themselves the learning process to end those social ills. And of course, we have health and wellness. So one of the biggest pieces about this summer is that each of our sites will have social workers to help our scholars with mental health awareness. And every summer we have what's called the National Day of Social Action. This year is going to be July 15th, and National Day of Social Action is essentially we stop what we're doing in the traditional Freedom School Day, and we are advocating on a social issue. In the past, we've covered gun violence. Last year was spreading the word on banned books, because some of the books that our scholars are reading are books that are considered banned, especially in the state of Missouri. This year, our focus is on social and emotional learning. So our scholars are going to be learning about mental health, the impact of it, and also informing the community the importance of knowing, being on top of your health, not just physical, but also your mental. But more importantly, it is grounded in belief. So we believe that every child can achieve at high levels. We believe that literacy is power. We believe that culture builds confidence. We believe that community builds strength, and that at the bottom of it all, the root of it all, we believe that children can change the world. Again, strong people don't need strong leaders. So let's go back to Ella Baker. When she said that, she wasn't saying leadership doesn't matter. What she was saying is the goal is not to create followers, the goal is to create leaders everywhere. And that is exactly what we do in Freedom School. Our scholars lead, cheers, and chants during Harambee, which we will be doing soon. They get to facilitate discussions and lead them. They speak in front of groups, so that one scholar that started off in week 1 very shy and did not want to talk in front of their peers, by week 6 is going to be having the mic in front of their face and talking to the congregation. And of course, we engage in social action. So we are not pouring into empty cups. We are activating what is already inside of our scholars. So speaking of Harambee, again, we will be doing that soon, but Harambee is Swahili for pull together. And every single day at Freedom School, we start with Harambee. And that's what this work requires, us all pulling together. Not one leader, not one program, not one organization, but a community pulling together, reminding us that strong people don't need strong leaders. And what is the overall impact of Freedom School? When we do this work right, we see transformation. Children who once struggled to engage are now excited to read aloud. Families become partners in learning, and young people begin to see themselves not just as students, but as change agents. In fact, just last year alone, last summer, over 96% of our scholars maintained or grew in their reading levels, with an average of a year growth in reading. Many gaining up a year growth in just 6 weeks. But beyond the numbers, we see confidence in our scholars. We see them activating their voices that they didn't know how to utilize prior to Freedom School Summer, and we see their purpose. So why does this matter, especially in a church setting? Now, let me make this very clear. Freedom School is not separate from the work of the church. In all actuality, it actually aligns with it. Because at its core, this is about justice, equity, love, community, and behalf of the potential of the child as a whole. This is a ministry. This is service. This is legacy work that we are doing. So I'm calling to action. I leave you all with this. If we truly believe Ella Baker's words, that strong people don't need strong leaders, then it's our responsibility is clear. We must invest in our children. We must create spaces for them to lead, support programs that affirm them, and show up as a community. Because Freedom School is not just something we run in the summer, it is something that we carry into how we love, how we teach, and serve every single day. Thank you. And as we say in Freedom School, and in the words of Ella Baker, strong people don't need strong leaders. So now we are going to transition to Harambee. I'm going to, is it okay if I go on this one? All right. Okay, can you hear me? Am I good? Okay. If not, I'm also a former cheerleader, so I can echo. So what we're gonna do is just kind of a short synopsis of what Harambee looks like, and this is how we start every single morning at Freedom School. So we are really, really hyped. We say we get hyped for literacy. As you can see from the outline, this isn't everything, so it's a condensed version of what Harambee looks like. But we start off asking, how are you feeling? Then we have a loud guest, and you all will probably hear about this if you haven't already, but we invite people of the community to come read a children's book to our scholars during Harambee. After Read Aloud, we go into Something Inside So Strong. That is a song that we do every single Freedom School morning, and the lyrics are found in every single class. The lyrics are really important, and you'll be able to, once we get to that part, it's important for our scholars to hear that something inside them is so strong every day. We then do chants. If you ask any Freedom School scholar that's returning, they're going to tell you their favorite part of Harambee is doing cheer chants. Now, the first week when we're leading Harambee is being led by the staff, but the eventual goal is that our scholars start leading Harambee. And again, they love cheers and chants. Next, we do recognition. We want to recognize our peers. And in this space, when we do recognitions, we do not recognize for exterior things like, I really like the clothes you have, those shoes are cute. Instead, we go things that are intrinsic, things on the inside. So I really liked how Melissa opened the door for me, how she said good morning. She let me sit next to her when I started the day off bad. Or I saw how Tony had cleaned up my room yesterday. Tony, I really, really appreciate that. So that's what we do during recognitions. And then we always end it with moment of silence, which is kind of like a meditation before they head out to their class. Now, a part of this that we're going to do is also, so I don't look crazy, there are a lot of calls and responses. So as we are going through this, there are going to be times where I'm going to ask you to repeat the things that I am saying. In Freedom School, when we do check for understanding, we always say, if you understand, say check, and then the scholars will say check. So I'm going to say, if you understand, say check. Check. All right, let's go to the next slide. So the first thing, when we start Freedom School, we say Freedom School. How y'all feeling? The scholars are going to go, fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Stump, stump, stump. Then, whoa. If you understand that, say check. All right, if you feel comfortable, you can stand up. If you want to do this sitting down, you can. Freedom School, how y'all feeling? Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Stomp, stomp. Whoa, good job, good job. You all can have a seat now. So that's literally the first thing they get told. So we are amping them up right out of the breakfast. The next thing is read aloud. So again, this is when we have the community come in. We have community leaders, people in the congregation. We have the government. We've had parents that come in. That serve as read aloud. What we try to stay away from is our staff, because our staff reading books to our scholars throughout the whole day. So we want to expose them to people who they don't see on a regular basis. But the first thing they do is we start with the cheer and chant. So it says, now everybody says, read aloud. Read aloud. Say, read aloud. Read aloud. Say, R-E-A-D, aloud. R-E-A-D, aloud. Perfect. And then we'll have the guests come up, do an introduction, and that guest will read the book. After that, we always ask questions. Our scholars are always going to have questions. And just to prepare you, if you do read aloud this summer, they're going to ask you questions that have nothing to do with the book, but it's so beautiful. And then after, we end it with our cool cat cheer and chant. So say, for example, it's myself doing read aloud that day. They'll say, hey, Miss Carrie, you're a real cool cat. You got a lot of this and a lot of that. Stretch, 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 stretch your stuff. Stretch your stuff. Stretch your stuff. And then the person could either just walk out, or they can stretch themselves, or they can do a little dance. And we always invite for our read aloud guests to say the entire Harambee. So by this time, we have a good 20 minutes left. We are going to do a practice of a read aloud with Miss Peterson. So let's go back to the read aloud. Now everybody says read aloud. Read aloud. Say read aloud. Read aloud. Say R-E-A-D aloud. R-E-A-D aloud. All right, scholars, joining us this morning, we have Miss Peterson who is going to read a book. Remember, after she is done reading, we're going to raise our hands if you have any questions whatsoever. We're going to make sure that we ask it to her. So let's give our attention to Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. And I am going to use the handheld mic. If Mo can hear me, I'm going to use the handheld mic. It's not on. Is it on?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And if there are any young people that want to come up and help me with this, that would be great. Or not. Our story this morning is Rights and Equality by Marie Murray, illustrated by Hanane Kai. Rights and Equality. There are things we all need to be able to live well and safely. These are called rights. All people have equal value, and this means all of us have equal rights. It doesn't matter if we are young or old, sick or healthy, rich or poor. It doesn't matter where we are born, what color our skin is, or what we believe. There may be things we want, such as a trip to the zoo or a new toy, but these are different from the things you need. So how can we know the difference and decide what our rights are? How do we make sure all the people in the world are treated equally and have what they need? In 1948, a group of people from many countries agreed on a list of rights that all people have. This list is called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Since it was created a long time ago, we can keep adding to it, but it is a good place to start when we talk about human rights. One of the most important of these human rights is the right to be alive and be safe. This is called the right to life. Work is a very important part of life. People need to be able to work so that they have money to buy what they need, and even some things they want, and to take care of their families. Along with the right to work comes the right to rest, recover, and enjoy life. Everyone has the right to be a free person and not to be held in slavery. There are different kinds of slavery, but slaves are usually forced to work very hard for little or no pay. All people deserve the chance to live a healthy life. They have the right to food, clothing, and a place to live. They should be able to see a doctor when they are sick. They should be able to get help if they lose their jobs, or if they are too sick or elderly to care for themselves. You might love going to school, or sometimes think you'd rather not go. But how would you feel if you couldn't ever go to school? All children have the right to go to school and get a good education so they can succeed in life. Everyone has the right to get married if they want to, and have children if they want them. No one should be forced to get married if they don't want to, or if they are too young. Everyone has the right to their own beliefs and opinions, as long as their beliefs do not cause them to harm others. People can be part of whatever religion if they want to. Diverse beliefs and opinions help people learn from each other and see other points of view. Everyone deserves to be protected by just laws and have a fair trial in a court. A trial means that before anyone is put in prison, they can stand in front of a judge and sometimes a jury. The judge and the jury listen to the story and look at evidence to decide if the person is innocent or guilty. Even in prison, people have rights. All forms of torture go against human rights. Even if people have done something very bad, they should not be tortured. If laws do not protect people in their own country, they have the right to leave. When people are in danger, they have the right to move to a new place and seek safety. Unfortunately, sometimes countries do not want to welcome people who are trying to escape danger. Governments might ignore the human rights of these people and say that people from certain countries are not welcome. Sadly, although we all have these human rights, the world is not fair and equal yet. Not everyone has the things they need, including safety, homes, and food. People live in war zones, refugee camps, or places where there isn't enough food. Sometimes parents don't have enough money to send their children to school. Some countries have governments that aren't fair. They may imprison or torture people who stand or speak out against them. In places where not everyone has their rights respected, some people fight for equality. They are called human rights activists. Some activists may choose to protest. Others may choose to call or write to members of government to tell them when they see groups of people being treated poorly. Some become politicians themselves and try to fight for change. Children have rights just as adults do. They have the right to food, a home, and care. They also have the right to play. Parents share responsibility for raising children and need to do what is best for them. Governments should help parents care for their children by offering things like free schooling, health care, or money for housing when families need it. Every single person can do things to make sure that those around them are treated with equality and respect. Sometimes people bully others. They might make fun of someone for the way the person acts, speaks, dresses, or looks, or for no reason at all. Many times, the person bullying does not realize how hurtful their actions are. Defending someone who is being bullied and asking the person doing the bullying to stop is a brave way to fight for equality and inspire others to do the same. It isn't always easy to stand up for human rights and equality, but it is the right thing to do. There will probably be times when you are not treated well, and you will want someone to stand up for you, too. Every day, people are working to make sure everyone's rights are protected. In what small or big ways, you can fight for equality, too. The end.
Before we go to the next part, do you have any questions for Ms. Peterson?
So sorry. Yes. This cool shirt purchased right here. I'm sure there are more for sale, right, Kathy? Yes.
What year was that book written?
Oh, good question. 2020 by Free Spirit Publishing. Ooh, tough question. Any other questions?
Miss Annette, do you have a dog?
No, I do not have a dog. So sorry, but equal rights for pets also.
So after our read aloud guest reads, ask questions, as they are leaving off the floor, we say our cheering chant. So, hey, Miss Peterson, you're a real cool cat. You got a lot of this and a lot of that. Strut your stuff, strut, 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 strut your stuff, strut your stuff, strut, 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 strut your stuff. Thank you. So this next part, something inside so strong. Is Michael able to hear me? Okay. Michael, we're just gonna do the first verse and chorus. So we're not gonna do the entire 5 minutes and 37 seconds of the song. But something inside so strong is really, really important in Freedom School. The lyrics are gonna be on the screen. Every morning, our scholars sing this song, and as I stated earlier, every classroom has the lyrics. And when I say lyrics, that every part of the song is written out. Enforcing those literacy aspects again, but also reminding them that something inside them is so strong. So, the movement. So we're not just singing it. In Freedom School, we move in the morning. That's how we wake our scholars up. So when they say something inside so strong, it's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Nope. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Something inside so strong. So I'm not the best voice-wise, so please give me grace on that. Michael, whenever you're ready, you can hit that something inside so strong, you too. I hope I don't have Michael back there stressing. Sometimes this also happens during school, technical difficulties happen. So
Will you be downstairs afterwards?
it will be downstairs. Yep. the cheers and chants? All right, so again, so now we did something inside so strong. You got some movement out the way. Now we go to what the scholars are probably gonna tell you is their favorite part, is the cheers and chants. Now we have over 100 cheers and chants, all about getting hype about being in Freedom School, all about getting hype about reading and literacy. I'm gonna teach you all 2 of them. The second one is by far the most, not only the most famous. As I said, St. Louis Beyond House is the longest lasting Freedom School, not only in the city of St. Louis, but in the state of Missouri. And a lot of people who started Freedom School at Beyond Housing also were part of the first group of trainers at the Children's Defense Fund. So they created some of these cheers and chants back in the 90s that we still do today. So this one is a call and response, and it's called No School Like Freedom School. All you have to do is just repeat after me. Just give you a reminder, I do not have the best voice. But at Freedom School, we don't judge, so I know you all won't either. So again, it's call and response. Whatever I say, you say in the exact same way. There's no school like Freedom School. There's no school like Freedom School. Reading books is really cool. Reading books is really cool. Gaining knowledge through the word. Gaining knowledge through the word. I'm down with Freedom School, haven't you heard? I'm down with Freedom School, haven't you heard? I'm down. I'm down. Are you down? Are you down? I'm down. I'm down. Are you down? Are you down? Ooh, you all sound beautiful. All right, let's go to the next cheer and chant. This one is called Tribe. This is the one that was created by former trainers that are from St. Louis, who are my mentors in the Freedom School movement, but also it is every scholar's favorite cheer and chant because they get to stand up, they get to move during this. If you would like to, you definitely can, but you can also do the cheer and chant sitting down. So I'll say, tell me what you feel like doing, y'all. Then the scholars are gonna say, I feel like hanging with my tribe. Then everybody says, hold up, wait a minute, let me put some freedom in it. Ooh, I love my Freedom School. Say what? Ooh, I love my Freedom School. So we're gonna do it for real this time, and if you, like I said, if you feel comfortable, you definitely stand up. It's the movement of going up like this, going back. Like I said, the kids love this one. I'm gonna do all of them, but of course you all do the response and the all. So tell me what you feel like doing, y'all. I feel like hanging with my tribe. Hold up, wait a minute, let me put some freedom in it. Ooh, I love my Freedom School. Say what? Ooh, I love my Freedom School. One more time. Tell me what you feel like doing, y'all. I feel like hanging with my tribe. Hold up, wait a minute, let me put some freedom in it. Ooh, I love my Freedom School. Say what? Ooh, I love my Freedom School. You all are more than welcome to have a seat. I will say that it's hilarious because you just imagine 30 kids just all going into the circle together and all pulling back. I also want to mention when we do Harambee, we are doing it in a circle. We are very intentional on that. So it's not seen as a hierarchy or as me as the teacher and you all as the scholars. When we say we want everybody to be on the same level, we mean that even in the capacity of Harambee. So we will technically be in a circle. All right, next one. Whew, hold on, I gotta catch my breath after that one. So this is a recognition. This again is the time where you recognize people within your community, your peers, somebody that you've noticed. We stay away from things like outward appearance and things of that nature. So the leader would say, I have a recognition, recognize. I said I have a recognition, recognize. And then the person will recognize. During this time, we do not ask for scholars to raise their hand. It's kind of like You know, if you feel happy in the spirit, go ahead and say it. So any person who wants to recognize someone is the leader. So I'm just doing an example of that. I have a recognition. Recognize. I said I have a recognition. Recognize. I would like to recognize Mike for his great work with technology this morning. Let's give it up for Mike. Can I get at least one person to give a recognition? Okay. All right. So after we do our recognitions, again, we let it go as long as the spirit leads. So if all 30 scholars got somebody they want to recognize, by all means, we are listening to all 30 scholars' recognition. Then we're going to end with the last piece, which is the moment of silence. This is like meditation. Now if you think about the roller coaster, we are towards the end because after a moment of silence, we're going to our classes for our 2 hour of integrated reading curriculum. So the leader leads moment of silence. It goes, hush, hush, it's time for a moment of silence. Hush, hush, it's time for a moment of silence. Then I ask scholars, let's close our eyes. Today we're going to have a great day in our classes. We are going to put on our thinking caps. We are going to be our best selves. So let's breathe in all the positivity and blow out any negativity, any hurt, any pain. We're going to open our eyes and say, Ashe. And so from there, as you can feel, like you were probably a little already energetic. Tell people if you come to this Freedom School in the morning, you do not need coffee. The Harambee is going to wake you up fully. But this is how we start our mornings every day. And as you saw, even with the read aloud, when I said, everybody say read aloud, R-E-A-D, aloud. And either other cheers and chants, we are very intentional on literacy being encompassing every aspect, even outside of those 2 hours that they're in the classroom. So scholars don't even know that they are practicing literacy as early as Harambee, which starts at 8:30 a.m. Technically, after moment of silence, I don't have that on there, but we have announcements. And announcements is a really big word, especially for a kindergartner. By the end of the summer, they are going to know A-N-N with a little bit of O-U-N. C-E-E-C-E-M-E-N-T-S, announcements. So my kindergarten 5-year-old is going to know how to spell perfectly announcements because every day they are being drilled with those routines. And so with that being said, thank you all for for opening the space for this summer. City has always been a desire of expansion, and so I'm really excited about that. But also just inviting me this morning and learning just a little bit more. And if you have any questions that you want to have answered, either about Freedom School as a national program or specifically what we do at Beyond Housing or what to expect this summer at Freedom School, I will be staying active, so do not hesitate to come reach out to me. And with that being said, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Carrie. This is really exciting. I can't wait to participate in Freedom School. I know I'm a little old, but I can read a book. So, all right. The act of sharing our joys and concerns is an invitation to community, to sport, to celebration, and love. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. And today, so that no one's confused, we're not going to do stones and bubbles. We've replaced those with the books that people brought in that have been transformative and meaningful to you. And you're welcome after the service to come up and look at the books. Also, we collected titles of books that people found transformative and meaningful. That will be up here if you want to look at that as well. And so the concerns in our community today: for a member who grieves for a coworker whose daughter passed away from sepsis at just 13 years old. And a member of our community who is holding on to so many good memories of adventures and snuggles with their 17-year-old Shih Tzu who left them this week. We hold these concerns with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. We also hold concerns from our community online that I would like to read, but my internet connection is unstable. So for all those concerns out there. And as a community, we share our joys and celebrations with one another. A member of our community is celebrating their 40th birthday today and invites everyone to celebrate with them next weekend. So we look forward to that. We lift up this joy with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared.
The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. One of the ways we do this is by sharing the plate. This week, all non-pledge donations go to Beyond Housing Freedom School. This morning's offering will now be received.
Thank you for your gifts today. Thank you for the beautiful music. We are grateful for the long UU commitment to youth in our community. We remember the opening of the South St. Louis Nursery in 1886, the robust RE programs throughout the years, the OWL program, the recent creation of space and fellowship hall for our young people, and now this endeavor with Freedom School. We look to a future of continued support for youth in our community. Thank you for that. Our closing hymn is 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. We are going to sing 5 verses. The second verse, we're going to sing When the Spirit Says Read. So if that gets confusing, you just sing when the Spirit says whatever you think the Spirit is calling you to sing, but 5 verses total. Please rise as you are willing and able.
to answer any questions after the service. You got to read when the Spirit says read. Marian Wright Edelman's words bear repeating. There is no better tool than a book. It can pry open the locks of poverty and hopelessness and make way for dreams that take hold. May your dreams take hold, and may your heart be opened and engaged as you continue the deep and loving work of paying attention. Please enjoy the postlude and then greet your neighbor and share about your favorite books.